Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's a beautiful day out here. Temperature is in the high 60s. The humidity is 27%, and the wind, they say, is at 10 miles an hour. And I defer to Thomas Jefferson, and I do feel a slight wind. I don't know that it feels like 10 miles an hour. Today is a great day. The weather at the end of the day, and the beginning of the day I was in court, which is what I'm supposed to do. And it was enjoyable because it's a new courthouse in the county where I live, and there are a lot of people I hadn't seen in a while because I haven't been in the local court. And it was fun catching up. There seemed to be an energy in the building. Also, I'm a little prejudiced because I see the changes in America may be dependent largely on how the judges on the benches consider the cases brought before them by those who are abused, misunderstood, and hurt by the current myopic, traitorous tilt of the administration. And I'm grateful for the fact that we prove that our stable genius has no idea what he's doing by the fact that courts are turning down what he's doing, and the violations are so plainly within the four corners of a constitutional prohibition or a separation of powers argument or a due process argument, meaning basically fundamental fairness. I think of the student Khalil from Colombia as one of those. The lawyers complained today they couldn't even get to see their client, and this should be put on a regular course, and it's not on that now. And it is, I guess they hope by shock and awe to whisk this guy away from his wife. They had the facts wrong. They said he had a student visa when he's a permanent resident married to an American citizen, and she's about to give birth to a child. I mean, talk about the hole in the head gang. These guys have got it all four square. And so we have what's going on in the courts going for us. And so I think that's why it feels better to be in court today on such a nice day out and to see the cooperative efforts. And the judge I was before, while waiting to come to our case, was quite deliberately and fairly considering each person. And this is what they call a court not of record, a local district court, where some lesser cases begin. And she was very conscious to inform people, ask them if they understood, to get them lawyers. It was encouraging because you have a different sense of the law when your perspective is to watch felon Trump and his gang of maggots. So it was now, of course, the court I was in today is a state court, so the kinds of issues that are coming up are more likely and probably almost exclusively to come up in federal court. That said, everything we do in our system that reaffirms the constitutional right, privilege, defense, freedom, says something to the public implicitly about the order that Trump and his company try to impose is not in our tradition, does not reflect our standards. Now, we have the courts trying to solve is not right, deciding cases. And we have now that Congress has voted for what they call a continuing resolution, but which in fact has provisions in it that will hurt the middle class. And I may have said it yesterday. So what we have is an effort by the Republicans to pass a continuing resolution to spend less on, you and I, normal citizens, and by spending less on us, they can claim there's more funds available to give away as tax breaks to the wealthy. So Elon Musk, who I understand from one source pulls in $80 million a day, is entitled to receive more. And where's the proportionality of that? How does that make sense in a country in which we're trying to be equal, even if it's only in opportunities? So, but I do think, even in this category, there are a couple of things operating to our benefit. There are members of the Congress who are standing up for other members, abused by Republicans who are bigots. I'm thinking of the confrontation involving a transgender member of Congress being abused by a Republican who doesn't know any better. It's sickening to see it. Unnecessary, too. You can't take a person for who they are, equal to him, certainly. You'd be tempted to say superior, given the misconduct by which these people feel free to exercise themselves. Now, it's clear to me that Carville's prescription is just put your arms down and relax and don't do anything. Let it all fly by past us. Well, that's not the American way. I don't think it's the political way. And the indications that he's wrong include things like Trump attacking Schumer as the Democratic leader in the U.S. Senate. And years ago, when he was still in the House, I was special counsel to now Senator Schumer, then Congressman Schumer. And a guy like him, with the mind he has, who has the energy he has, well, I think he's found his footing recently. There was a criticism, maybe, that people were following the Carville corollary. Do nothing, do less. It'll all end up for us? I don't know. It's almost like he's a spy for the other side telling us to do things. I had a congressional campaign, and we were getting good name recognition. And we had a meeting of the Finance Committee. And in the room, one of the people that I thought I could trust proposed, with all these people present, that we take down our own signs and say that the Republican incumbent did it. And I said, I'm not going to do that. And I fired him from the campaign on the spot. You can't allow something like that to fester. And the best Democrats understand that. The Republicans understand it, but they're afraid to stand up for the rights that they swore after being elected they would uphold as representatives of the people, and they're not doing it. So we have Schumer, who is getting under Trump's skin, plainly. And he says Schumer was not a Jew. He wasn't Jewish. Imagine this guy saying that. Now, he did that with Harris. You know, she wasn't black. I didn't know she was black. It reminds me of the old comic shows in which the guy would pretend to be neutral. I don't even know what color looks like. Everybody is the same to me, that kind of statement. And plainly that was a hit at the Republicans, but in these old stand-up comic routines. So Schumer is not Jewish because he criticized Netanyahu and criticized his excesses, Netanyahu's excesses. But you have to ignore that Schumer went and got weapons for Israel, visited Israel after the October shooting by Hamas, and he said he would get for Israel whatever they need. So what's going on here? Well, Trump tries in every direction to muzzle those who oppose him. And I think what he's helped to do is to increase Schumer's, how would I say it, leadership on this matter. And I'm not sure he was convinced this was the way to go until now. And this is an important time because the spending bill is now before the Senate. And basically, I think they have until midnight Friday to keep the government open with a continuing resolution. If this were only a continuing resolution, I think it could work out better, but it's plainly not that. And you have a combination of things coming together. Stealing from the middle class for the rich. The Wall Street Journal saying, what are you doing when you're attacking Canada and imposing positions on tariffs that are going to cost our people more, so they're going to be upset. But I think what we have to do is watch what happens in the Senate. Now, as you may know, the Republicans have 53 seats. Now, one of them, for Rand Paul, is he's voting against the continuing resolution. He takes out a mark in the sand, and you never know if he's going to be on your side or not. But this is one issue that he sees a certain way. Now, but what's the trade-off? Fetterman, who will vote for the bill, the Republican version of the bill, and that tells me his politics is not better than his dress code. And that's not something to laugh about. That's a problem. So, where do the changes come? Well, I started by saying the courts are making a difference, and they are. But something else is happening, and it is that we have Bernie Sanders out there talking to crowds in Republican districts, telling them what's going on, and he's getting a reaction. Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts has been out, and she's been talking. And so what we have is we're beginning to have a more powerful dialogue. The courts, elected representatives, not enough yet, but we're getting there. And then the betrayal by Trump of the people who brought him to the dance, which are the Republicans and the businessmen, that are saying, you're not supposed to be screwing us. You're supposed to be screwing all those other people. You're supposed to do it by getting rid of these programs they have. Now, I've always thought, and still do, that the American deal is that the wealthy are protected, but the trade-off is that they invest in the society by which they benefit. The middle class enjoys various transfer payments and a certain level of work and a day's wage for a day's work. And the poorest of us benefit by programs because we care, and the United States Constitution says to promote the general welfare. And that's what we should and are doing. And so by the courts, by the votes on the Hill, by the speeches of our people, we're in a position to make a difference and to resist the autocracy, the dictatorship, the oligarchy that Trump would have in his place. And he's past reason, and I'm sure if anybody gave him a test, we would all decide that his mind isn't working well, not that it ever did. So, those are a couple of my observations today. I hope you got out if it's nice where you are. And so I say goodbye for today, until tomorrow, I suppose, from my cathedral of trees. All the best. Bye-bye.